8 months after I cut off my best friend of 12 years and walked away from every person we'd shared between us, my ex knocked on my door on a Thursday evening. 7 months pregnant, telling me the baby was mine. That's where the story ends. But you need the beginning first. My ex and I had been together for 3 years. We met at a friend's birthday thing in Kensington Market when I was 28. Fell into the kind of relationship where you stop keeping track of sleepovers because just to become permanent. By year 2, we were looking at 2 bedrooms in East York. She had a spare key. I knew her coffee order. We were planning a trip to Portugal for the following spring. My best friend had been in my life since second year at Waterloo. 12 years. We'd done road trips through the Maritimes, ski weekends at Blue Mountain, kept each other sane through bad breakups. And worse jobs. And the year his father got sick. He was the person I called when I needed actual advice, not just someone to agree with me. I'd lent him money twice. I'd helped him move 3 times. I introduced him to his girlfriend. Last August, my boss told the team to head out by noon. Heat advisory, nobody was getting anything done anyway. I picked up 2 sandwiches and a couple of large Timmies from the shop on King, and drove home to surprise her. I heard them before I even opened the bedroom door. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I stood in the hallway with my hand still on the knob, and then I walked back to the kitchen, put the sandwiches on the counter, put the coffees in the fridge, picked up my keys and left. My best friend said my name once. That was the last thing either of them said to me for a long time. I checked into a hotel near the airport and stayed 2 nights. Turned my phone face down, and let the screen light up without looking at it. The betrayal itself was awful. The part that came after was somehow worse. When I finally came up for air, I found out that a solid chunk of our shared social circle had known something was off for a while and said nothing to me. Some reached out with versions of, "It's complicated," or, "These things aren't always black and white." One guy, someone I'd known almost as long as I'd known my best friend, sent a message telling me to take time before doing anything drastic. I didn't respond to any of them. A few weeks later there was a birthday dinner for one of the women in the group at a restaurant in Leslieville. Someone told me it would look strange if I didn't come. That we were all adults, that we could get through one evening. My best friend was already seated near the head of the table when I arrived. Relaxed, laughing at something, like the floor of my life hadn't caved in 2 weeks earlier. I made it through the first round of drinks. Then a woman across the table, someone I'd always genuinely liked, leaned toward me and said, as gently as she could, "I just think both of you need to decide what matters more. The friendship or the grudge. Both of you." I put my glass down, said goodnight and walked out. Blocked every number at that table before I got to my car. The next morning I moved out of the apartment. My name was on the lease, so she was the one who had to leave. I found a 1-bedroom in Riverside for $2,200 a month to month, handed the building manager first and last on the spot, and told my boss I'd be working remote for a few weeks. He didn't push. The first couple of months were what they were. I slept badly, ate badly, worked 12-hour days to keep the quiet from becoming unbearable. But somewhere around month 4 things started to shift. I joined a recreational hockey league on Tuesday nights. Nothing serious. Just guys who needed somewhere to put their energy. Started doing long rides on weekends. Worked my way along the whole waterfront trail a few times. By month 7 I was actually okay. Routine, work, skate, cook, sleep. No noise. No one asking me to be reasonable about something that wasn't reasonable. Month 8. A Thursday evening in April. I was heating up leftover pasta and watching the Leafs throw away a third-period lead when someone knocked. I looked through the peephole. She was standing in the hallway in a loose maternity top, hair pulled back, no makeup. 7 months along, maybe. Close to teasers, or close enough that the difference didn't matter. I opened the door but didn't step aside. "What do you want?" Her lip trembled. "Can I come in, just for a minute?" "No." She recalibrated. "I need to talk to you, it's important." "Then talk." She glanced down the hall like she was worried about the neighbors. I didn't move. "I made a terrible mistake," she said. "What happened? It wasn't what you think. I was in a bad place. And I made choices I can't take back. And I know that doesn't fix anything. But I need you to understand I never wanted to hurt you." I waited. "Was the baby?" She put a hand on her stomach. "It's yours. From before everything happened. I'm due in 2 months and I don't know what to do. He won't step up. My family isn't helping. I'm scared and I need someone." The tears arrived exactly when you'd expect them to. If I hadn't spent 8 months replaying every conversation we'd ever had, I might have felt something other than tired. "Prove it," I said. She blinked. "What?" "Prove the baby is mine. I want a paternity test." "You don't trust me." "No." "Do you know what a prenatal test costs? I can't just I'll pay for it. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried another angle. The I thought you were a good person angle. The can we at least talk inside like adults angle. None of them found purchase. I'd actually been carrying a card for a clinic in my wallet for about a month. Some instinct had told me to be ready. I held it out. She stared at it before taking it. You're going to regret this, she said. Maybe, but I'll do it on my own terms. I closed the door. Listened to her stand there for almost a full minute. Before her footsteps moved toward the elevator. I went back to the couch, picked up my fork, and found that the Leafs had somehow scored while I was at the door. At least someone was having a good night. I pulled out my phone and started looking up family law lawyers in Ontario. Made a note of a few names. Then I opened my inbox. And that's when I noticed it. She'd already sent me an email. Apparently drafted before she ever knocked, forwarding an appointment confirmation from the clinic. Attached to it was a shared Google Doc. The intake form. Partially filled out. I almost didn't look at the metadata. Something made me check. The document had been created. And last edited by an account that wasn't hers. It was my best friend's Google account. His name in the owner field, plain as anything. They'd been filling out the intake form together. Before she came to my door. I didn't call either of them. Didn't send a screenshot with a question attached. I captured everything. Metadata, the document history, timestamps, backed it up in 2 separate places, and forwarded it to an email account I'd never used for anything else. Then I went back through 8 months of text history, organized everything by date, and built a folder I called simply, Documentation. The week that followed moved slowly. I met her at the clinic on the scheduled date. She tried small talk in the waiting room. I answered work emails on my phone. The swab took 2 minutes. Results in 7 to 10 business days. I ran out my regular week. Hockey on Tuesday. Long ride Saturday morning. A pot of Zoom Sunday that lasted most of the week. I checked my email at 6 every morning before doing anything else. The result arrived on a Friday 6:43 a.m. I was still in bed. I sat up, opened the message from the lab, read the first line. Probability of paternity 0%. I set the phone face down on my chest and looked at the ceiling for a while. Then I got up and made coffee. I opened my laptop and built a document. Not a letter, a record. Page 1, the DNA result, name and date clearly visible. Page 2, a factual timeline, 8 months of it, starting from the afternoon I came home early. Page 3, screenshots of the Google Doc metadata with my best friend's account listed as co-author of the clinic intake form. Page 4, a single paragraph. 8 months ago I ended a friendship after a betrayal I won't detail here. Last week, my ex appeared at my door, claiming I was the father of her unborn child. I requested a paternity test. The results are attached. I have no further comment on this matter. Please do not contact me. I sat with it for a few minutes. Then I built my list. His girlfriend went at the top. She'd been with him for 2 years, and had no idea any of this existed. She deserved to know before anyone else. Then, the mutual friends, who'd told me to be reasonable and remember the friendship. Then a few people on the periphery, who'd weighed in with opinions they hadn't earned. I attached the PDF, sent it. His girlfriend called 12 minutes later. Tell me this is real, she said. Her voice was completely flat. It came from a certified lab, it's real. She went to you saying you were the father. 7 months pregnant. Said it was mine. I asked for a test. Silence on the line then. He told me last August was once a mistake, that he ended it. I don't think he ended it. I heard her breathe. I'm so stupid. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it, I said. That's not stupidity. She asked if I'd known how long it had been ongoing. I told her honestly I'd had suspicions from the document metadata, but hadn't known anything for certain until the test came back. I didn't speculate beyond what I actually knew. She thanked me, quietly, and hung up. The rest of the day my phone didn't stop. The mutual friends who'd asked me to be reasonable were now understanding what they'd been asking me to be reasonable about. The responses split, roughly how you'd expect, a handful of messages amounting to good for you, and I'm sorry, and a larger number amounting to this was extreme, and did you really have to involve everyone? I blocked the second group. My best friend sent one text. You just blew everything up for what? I typed back, you blew it up. I just documented it. Blocked his number. My parents had known the rough outline since August. My father called twice that evening. I let it go. My mother called once. Around 9:30 they showed up at my building. I watched them on the entryway camera. My mother looked hollowed out. My father looked like he was rehearsing something. I buzzed them up. We weren't having this in the lobby. They sat on my couch. I stood. My father led with what I'd expected. That he understood I was hurting. That what happened was wrong. But that cutting everyone off permanently was a reaction, not a resolution. That my best friend had made a terrible mistake, but 12 years meant something. That my mother wasn't sleeping. He wasn't a mistake, I said. He was a decision he made over and over again. And everyone who told me to be the bigger person made their own decision about where they stood. I'm just honoring those decisions. My mother said she'd been trying to keep things from getting worse when she told me to give it time. You were protecting the version of events where no one had to be uncomfortable. I said, that's different. My father tried several more angles. I let him finish each one. When he ran out, I told him I still loved them, that this wasn't about them specifically, but that I needed them to leave, and to understand that I wasn't relitigating the past year. They left before 10. My mother hugged me at the door and I let her. The missed calls kept coming until past midnight. I watched them stack up and felt very little. 3 days later, his girlfriend sent me an update. She'd confronted him with the paternity result. He'd denied the baby was his and demanded his own test. I told her to let me know what it said. 10 days after that, she sent me the result without a word of comment. His test came back negative too. I read that twice. Set my phone down on the kitchen table and just sat there for a moment. My ex hadn't been managing 2 relationships. She'd been managing 3. Whoever the actual father was, it wasn't me, and it wasn't my best friend. We'd both been used as a cover story for something else entirely. I didn't reach out to her. There was nothing I could say that the paperwork hadn't already said more clearly. What I did do was open the email from my manager that I'd been sitting on for 6 weeks. The firm's Calgary office had been trying to fill a senior project coordinator position since February. My manager had mentioned it twice, said I was the strongest internal candidate if I was open to relocating. I'd told him I needed to think about it. I hit reply and typed I'm in, what's the timeline? He responded in 20 minutes. Onboarded by June 1st. Relocation allowance, 2 months of furnished temporary housing, a bump in title and pay. I gave my building manager notice the next morning. Got a new phone number the same week, gave it to exactly 4 people. My manager, HR, my bank and my parents. Not out of obligation, but because I wasn't cruel about it. My father used that number on my last morning in the city. I had my car packed. 2 bags, 1 box, my laptop case, and was about to drop my keys in the building mailbox when my screen lit up with his name. I answered. Just a minute, he said. Please. I sat on the windowsill of the empty apartment. Go ahead. He talked about family. About how these things didn't have to be permanent. About how my mother's health had taken a turn. About how he truly understood now that mistakes had been made. And he was genuinely that they hadn't done more when it mattered. You're sorry about how it ended, I said. That's not the same as sorry for what you did. He didn't answer that. You knew enough, I said. When I came home 8 months ago and told you what I found, you knew enough. And you asked me to give it time. To remember the friendship. To think about whether this was worth blowing up. I paused. I thought about it every day for 8 months. My answer didn't change. So that's it? You just disappear. Yeah. That's it. That's not who you are. It's who I am now. I told him I'd call eventually, which was true, just not soon, said goodbye and hung up, blocked the number. Pulled out of the city on the 401, before rush hour. The drive to Calgary takes most of 3 days if you do it properly. I stopped overnight in Sault Ste. Marie, the first night. Winnipeg the second, Regina the third. Long flat stretches across the prairies where there's nothing to do but watch this road and let your brain go quiet. Somewhere in Saskatchewan I realized I hadn't checked my old email in 2 days, and didn't feel the absence of it at all. I crossed into Alberta on a Thursday afternoon. The mountains appeared on the horizon west of Calgary, looking almost unreal after 4 days of flat. I pulled into the temporary housing my company had arranged. A clean, furnished 2-bedroom in Beltline. Ordered a pizza, watched a game, and slept like someone who had somewhere to be in the morning. The job was harder than the one I'd left. More moving parts, longer hours, a team I had to earn before they'd trust me. I liked it. My colleagues were friendly without being intrusive. Nobody knew anything about me except that I was the new coordinator from Ontario who worked hard. And kept to himself. I joined a climbing gym in Kensington 2 months in. Met a woman there, an environmental consultant named Jules, at a technique session on overhangs. She was direct and funny and didn't ask about my past until I was ready to offer it, which was somewhere around date 4. When I gave her the short version, caught my ex with my best friend, the whole social circle took the wrong side. Left Toronto, she said, that's a rough year. You doing okay, now? I said yeah. She said good. And asked if I wanted to try the bouldering wall. A few months in, on a Sunday morning hiking through Kananaskis, she asked whether I ever regretted how things had ended. I thought about it honestly before I answered. I regret trusting the story I'd been telling myself about those people for so long, I said. I don't regret stopping. She nodded. We kept walking. My ex eventually identified the actual father, his girlfriend told me, and I had no reason to doubt her. He was apparently someone my ex had been seeing for months, overlapping with everything else. Schmasijing. The baby is healthy. None of it belongs to me anymore. My best friend lost his apartment when his girlfriend left. He's not doing well. From what I understand. I don't feel much about that, which surprised me for about a day and then didn't. Indifference, I've learned, is just what's left after you finish grieving someone. The DNA test didn't just prove the baby wasn't mine. It proved that the moment I drove away from that hotel last August, I'd already made the right call. Some truths just take a little longer to arrive with documentation attached.